Ira Spitzer is there joining us now from San Francisco in the United States. Ira, thank you very much. So what is planned, and do we know how much support the Clover workers have? Who's organising these events?
Well, unions in South Africa have called for this International Day of Action, and this includes, as you mentioned, several protests outside of Israeli consulates in the United States. The protests are planned for New York, Los Angeles, as well as here in San Francisco, where I am. And the protest here is scheduled to kick off in just a few hours. There have also been calls for protests in other countries, such as Sweden and Brazil. We, of course, don't know the exact turnout that we'll have here in San Francisco until the event happens. But I think the hope here, of course, from the organizers is really to try and make this an international issue, take the contentious situation between Israel and the Palestinians and tie that into what is happening in South Africa with this long-running labor dispute tied to the presence of the Israeli firm Milco and their investment in Clover. So organizers, again, hoping for people who probably almost certainly have not heard about this conflict to become aware of it through these actions outside of the Israeli consulates.
Okay, so two-pronged, like the protests in South Africa, in solidarity with the workers, but also protesters may be there who are anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian and want companies operating in other jurisdictions to be punished.
Exactly. I think that is that's kind of the message here, is not only about the issues of the workers, the Clover workers in South Africa, but also in support of Palestinians in the occupied territories, the conditions that they live under, and basically people who are upset about what's happening there, that they would see some solidarity with the workers in South Africa, who, of course, as we heard in the previous report, also are concerned not only about their jobs, but about the plight of the Palestinians. So this global day of action is a chance for people who are concerned about what's happening to kind of tie in that concern to what the workers are trying to do in South Africa. So it could be certainly very impactful if enough people become aware of the situation.
Okay, so we have no idea of turnout yet. Have you had a chance to see how widely this is being marketed? Is the word getting out? What are the expectations of the organizers?
Well, I don't think that they're expecting hundreds of people necessarily to show up in downtown San Francisco. That would be, of course, a victory, I would think, from their perspective. But it is difficult to get people to come out on a weekday in the middle of the still ongoing coronavirus pandemic for this issue. But I do think the hope certainly is, this is in downtown San Francisco, the financial district. There is a lot of foot traffic and car traffic. So whatever the numbers are, there will be people who certainly pass those protesters and will have some understanding of what is happening in other parts of the world, and understanding what perhaps the role of of Israel may be in all of this, and just sort of to become aware of the concerns of South African workers in a global context, which I think would be the goal of the organizers here.
All right, thank you for watching that. Let's see what happens a little bit later on in the United States. That was SABC News correspondent Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.